Capricorn, 2026 is a year that reshapes your foundations from the inside out, and it does so by applying pressure where you usually feel strongest. This is not about career dominance, titles, or external achievement alone. This is about emotional security, family patterns, and the inner structure that supports everything you build in the outer world. The weight you feel this year is not meant to slow you down. It is meant to realign how you carry responsibility for years to come. From the very beginning, there is a sense that your private life can no longer be treated as secondary. At the end of January, Neptune enters Aries and moves into the core of your chart, touching home, family, emotional roots, and your sense of belonging. Long-standing emotional patterns begin to soften and dissolve. You may feel more sensitive to your environment, more affected by family dynamics, or more aware of what no longer feels emotionally safe or supportive. For Capricorn, this can feel destabilizing. You rely on inner control to function effectively. Neptune blurs old definitions of home and security, not to take them away, but to show you where they were built on obligation rather than emotional truth. You may feel uncertain about what stability really means now, but this uncertainty is the beginning of a more authentic foundation. In February, Saturn follows Neptune into Aries, and the work becomes unmistakably serious. Saturn, your ruling planet, forms a square to your sign, adding pressure and responsibility. Family obligations increase, domestic matters demand attention. You may need to take charge of home-related responsibilities, redefine boundaries with relatives, or commit to restructuring your private life in a way that supports long-term resilience. This is not light emotional work. Saturn asks you to take responsibility not just for logistics, but for emotional maturity. You are learning that control is not the same as stability. The foundation you build now must support both your ambition and your well-being. If it does not, Saturn makes the imbalance impossible to ignore. At the same time, Jupiter continues its square to your sign during the first half of the year. Expansion feels demanding rather than effortless. Opportunities come with conditions. Growth requires sacrifice. You may feel stretched between what you want to build and what you can realistically sustain. Jupiter tests your priorities by asking you where you are overextending yourself emotionally, financially, or energetically. Together, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune, forming challenging aspects to your sign, create a year that feels heavy early on. You are asked to grow, restructure, and soften all at once. This is not punishment, this is refinement. The pressure reveals where your inner foundation needs reinforcement. As these internal shifts unfold, the first eclipse of the year arrives in February with an annular solar eclipse in Aquarius, activating finances and personal values. A new chapter begins around income, spending habits, and self-worth. You may change how you earn, reassess financial priorities, or redefine what security truly means to you. For Capricorn, this eclipse is important. It forces you to separate value from obligation. Money becomes less about survival and more about alignment. You are asked to build financial stability that reflects your real priorities, not just external expectations. In early March, a total lunar eclipse in Virgo expands your horizon and lifts your gaze beyond immediate pressure. Beliefs shift. Matters related to travel, education, legal issues, or long-term planning reach completion or clarity. You may finalize an academic or professional chapter, or recognize that your worldview has evolved. This eclipse reminds you that growth does not only come from carrying more weight, it also comes from perspective. You begin to see that expansion is possible without losing control. As spring unfolds, momentum changes form by the end of April when Uranus enters Gemini. Your daily routines, work environment, and health habits begin to shift rapidly. Schedules change unexpectedly. New systems replace old ones. You may experiment with different ways of working or managing your energy. Uranus disrupts inefficiency. You are pushed to work smarter, not harder.
This is uncomfortable for Capricorn at first, but ultimately freeing. You begin building a lifestyle that supports productivity without burnout. By mid-year, the tone of the year begins to soften. Jupiter enters Leo, and while challenges do not disappear, support becomes more accessible. Focus turns toward shared resources, emotional bonds, and long-term financial strategies. You may receive support through a partner, institution, or collaborative effort. Trust becomes a practical tool rather than a risk. This shift matters. After months of carrying pressure alone, you begin to realize that strength also includes knowing when to lean on others. Emotional and financial alliances deepen, bringing stability through cooperation rather than endurance. In August, the energy intensifies again with a total solar eclipse in Leo, resetting how you approach intimacy, shared finances, and emotional depth. A new chapter begins in how you trust, merge, and connect. This eclipse asks you to face vulnerability directly and to release control where it prevents genuine connection. For Capricorn, this is transformative. You learn that power is not lost through openness, it is refined. Toward the end of August, a partial lunar eclipse in Pisces closes the eclipse cycle by reshaping communication. Important conversations reach resolution, agreements are clarified. You may finally express something you have held back or receive information that brings emotional closure. This eclipse helps you communicate with empathy rather than restraint. Understanding replaces silence. By the end of 2026, Capricorn, you understand something essential. Strength is not built through discipline alone. It is built through emotional alignment, honest foundations, and the willingness to adjust what no longer supports you. This year reshaped how you carry responsibility, and because of that, everything you build from here stands taller and lasts longer.